Welcome to this free immigration help channel. Today is April 2nd, 2023, and we are getting into the volume 50 of me answering your immigration related questions. As you can see, I have all your comments pulled up here. So without further ado, let's start. But before we start, I want to say, as I mentioned in every video, I'm not an immigration attorney. This is not a legal advice. All the information that I provide on this channel in my videos are directly from official government sources like USCIS, U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, official government website, uscis.gov, and of course the Department of State, which, as you can see, I have Visa Bulletin pulled up, which is most of the times we have to use that. So let's start with the very first comment from Christian Casas, or Casas. I'm very sorry if I'm mispronouncing the names. Hi, thank you for your videos and useful information. You're very welcome, Christian. Thank you for watching. Do you think that for the rest of this fiscal year 2023, the Visa Bulletin Table A will move forward for family preferences F2B, F1, F3, and F4, which have been halted during almost 22 months? I really am hoping, Christian. I can't say for sure, but the good news is that, well, good and bad news at the same time. You'll understand why. Because with the April 2023 Visa Bulletin that literally just came out, we finally saw some movement. We haven't seen movement in a long time, and finally we seen the movement on F2A. Now, it's not a good movement, granted. Now F2A, from instead of showing current, it is now showing 3 years of a backlog, which is not good news. But at least the people who have been waiting for the interviews and were wondering, what's going on? I'm documentarily qualified and nothing is happening. The interview is not being scheduled. What is going on? They've been kept in the dark for a very long time. But now, finally, at least they, yes, they still have to wait, but at least they're not in the dark and they have a rough estimate of when the immigrant visa will become for their case and when the interview is going to be scheduled. So with that being said, I really hope and I think that we will see some movement for the rest of the categories within the next few months. But again, we will have to look at the next issues of the Visa Bulletin. So May, June, July, I think within the next 3 months, we will see the movement for the rest of the categories. Again, just because we've seen some movement on the F2A. But this is just my, kind of personal hopes and estimates, so it's not a 100%, unfortunately, but we'll see. We'll continue making the videos specifically on Visa Bulletins. Once the May Visa Bulletin comes out, I'll make a separate video on it, comparing what changed from the previous dates, and then of course June, July as well, and we will see, judging by what's happening. We'll have to make a little better estimate. All right, let's move on to the next comment from Chiku94. Hi, sir. Any news on EB1 Category, 30 August 2018? Okay, so looks like you do have a priority date. I am not familiar with the EB1 category. I'm assuming you mean EB1 category, employment-based visa. But again, if I'm wrong, please correct me. But I think you're referring to EB1. I have not heard of EB1. But for EB1, yes, it's the Visa Bulletin. Most of the times, if you're subscribed to this channel, we work with family-based visas. But if you scroll down all the way, there's also employment-based visas. Whenever it comes to the Visa Bulletin. And for the first priority category on the employment-based, they are current for all chargeability areas. There is some wait on China and India, and then the Mexico and Philippines are current. So depending which chargeability area you are in. Now you said that you did submit it in August 2018. So I'm assuming I'm gonna ask you to provide a little bit more information. EB1. I'm thinking maybe you are not in the EB1. Maybe you are. Nah, because this would be 5th and 4th priority category. So yeah, definitely please provide a little bit more information. Your chargeability area and which category you're applying based on, and I would be able to provide a little bit more information. The only thing I can think of, if it's still not being processed, well, if the immigrant visa is still not available, since you applied, since your priority date is 2018, I'm thinking because there's some 2018, there's forced priority, and there's also certain religious workers. So please let me know a little bit more details about your situation, and I will be happy to address it, and I will try to provide a little bit better answer. All right, let's move on to the next question from Don Honwano. Okay, definitely mispronounced that. I'm very sorry. Hi, please, should I complete I-130 for my wife and my children under 21 years old separately? Or yes, definitely separately. Or do I put the children only on my wife's I-130? Yes, you will put your children on your wife's application as well, but you do want to submit a separate petition for each child. So let's say you are petitioning for your family, and let's say there's 3 members of the family, right? That you are petitioning for your spouse and 2 children. Okay, you want to submit one I-130 for your wife, for your spouse, one I-130 for one child, one I-130 for a second child. That's definitely a requirement. They're not yet with me in the USA. Thanks, I'm a green card holder. Okay, got it. So if you're a legal permanent resident and you're petitioning and they're under 21 and your spouse, so they all will be in the F2A category. Obviously you'll have some wait time with USCIS. You will be submitting your application to the USCIS first. Once it is approved, it will be transferred to the NVC, and then you would have to get documentarily qualified with the NVC, and then they will have to go through the medical examination and the interview at the local US embassy. Of course, all of that process takes some time, so the sooner you start your I-130 petition, the better it is. All right, let's move on to the next question from Mark Tungol. Thank you, by the way, Mark, for being publicly subscribed. I really appreciate that. What's the other requirement of I-130 for spousing? I'm assuming sponsoring spouse bring to US beside marriage certificate. Okay, great question, Mark. And I'm gonna use this as an opportunity to demonstrate some navigation on uscis.gov. Just in case if we don't get another opportunity, we're gonna go to forms. And we're gonna click on all forms, and you can scroll down and find I-130, or you just type in 130 here and it will come up. We're gonna click on that. Obviously this is the main page for the I-130 petition for alien relative. This is where you start the application process. This is your starting point. All right, so if you're working with I-130 petition, this is where you need to get all your information, all your resources can be found here. But we're gonna scroll down to checklist of required initial evidence. We're gonna click on that, and they will give you all the evidence that's required. So first of all, you're gonna need to establish your status, right? US citizenship or legal permanent resident, whichever one. Obviously by providing your birth certificate or naturalization certificate, whatever it is. So that's number 1 requirement, right? Then there's evidence of family relationship. Obviously that would be the marriage certificate. Makes sense. If we're talking about children, obviously birth certificates, parents' birth certificates, brother, sister's birth certificate. Okay, makes sense. Moving further, we got, if there's a legal name change, there's 2 passport style photographs. All right, says if applicable. So again, if it's applicable to you, then you would have to provide that, which most likely it is. And then we have for adopted child, which we don't need. So very, very basic initial evidence that is needed. But again, if you're filling out the application online, which I would highly recommend doing, to file online, not file by paper, it makes it much faster, much easier to submit everything. Once you are done with the application part itself, you will have the part online within the USCIS online account. You will have the part where you have to upload all the initial evidence, and it will actually tell you what you need to upload, which again, it makes it much easier because it takes the guesswork out of submitting the application. So I'm gonna let you know that I have responded, and we're gonna move on to the next question from Nicola Persad. Absolutely correct. I am in the F1 category and my priority date is in April 2018. I would use my case number, etc. to check up, and it usually takes 59.5 months to start processing, but now it extended to 64 months. Yeah, Nicola, yeah, thank you for clarifying that. Yeah, unfortunately, well, again, it's I can't necessarily say unfortunately, because yes, it's not very pleasant to find out that your case, instead of now being processed 60 months, it's now another 4 months added to that, because 60 months is already a long time. 5 years. 5 years to wait for the processing of, it takes a really, really long time. And now it's additional 4 months, which is already on top of a long time. Crazy. But at the same time, it is much better to have an updated information than just sitting being in the dark thinking that, well, it's been already 60 months and nothing is happening, which was a lot of the case. And I think that's one of the reasons why both USCIS and also the Department of State started updating finally the dates, because I think they have been receiving a lot of these, public form inquiries, case inquiries with USCIS, because you can submit if your petition is outside of the normal processing times as indicated on USCIS website, you can submit that case inquiry. So I think they were receiving a lot of these inquiries and they were like, you know what, we finally need to update the information on our website, which is sad. It's really sad that for the past year and a half at least, we all were in the dark and they were not updating anything. It's ridiculous, but it's just the bureaucracy that we have to deal with. All right, let's move on to the next question from Nolawi Hanak. Again, sorry if I'm mispronouncing the name. F4 case, rest of the world. Priority date April 2007, documentarily qualified December 2022. How long is it going to take? All right, so F4 category is US citizen petitioning for brother, sister, for siblings, and that's the fourth priority category. And unfortunately, it's one of those categories that take the longest for the immigrant visa to become available. So this is in all chargeability. Priority date is 2007, and looks like they were already documentarily qualified. So that's great. Congratulations with being documentarily qualified. It means that it's very close to the availability of immigrant visa. But we're going to take a look at the visa bulletin, and we're going to scroll down to the graph B to check at the priority dates first. And the priority date is in 2007, April 2007. And as you can see right now, it's showing December 2007. And so your priority, Nolawi, is before what is shown here. Now, this has not been updated for a very long time. Again, hopefully in the next few months we will see the visa bulletin update the rest of the categories, so we can get a little bit of a better understanding. But because you were already documentarily qualified in 2022, it means that this big difference between the priority date and documentarily qualified date tells me that NVC, whether it's NVC or USCIS, they have been waiting closer to the availability of the immigrant visa. So, judging by this right here, by the dates of filing, the graph B in visa in visa bulletin, and also the big difference between the priority date and documentarily qualified, I would say your immigrant visa is either already available for the beneficiary or very close to being available. So I would say really any time now that this should be moving on, and the interview should be scheduled for your sibling, or if you are the sibling in this if you are the beneficiary in this particular case. Unfortunately, I can't give you any better details. It should be anytime now, but again, anytime now, it might mean, another 6 months, another year, depending on how bad we had an artificial backlog accumulation from the closures with the pandemic. So again, in the next couple of months, we will have a little bit of a better details, and we will see if there is any movement. And I think there will be, just because we finally saw some movement on the F2A category. So I think in the next few months we will see the movement on the rest. I wish I could give you a little bit better detail, but at the same time, congratulations on being documentarily qualified, and you're literally already at the point where it's like any time now. Just a little bit more patient and it should be happening. All right, let's move on to the next one from Lola Ali. Thank you for your answer. You're very welcome, Lola. Appreciate your question. Let's move on to the next one from Yolanda Mobarang. We are US citizen and filed petition for my unmarried son on August 2010. Wow, that was a while ago. All his docs and payments are documented and mail received is for him to wait for interview. But till now there is no interview schedule. How many more years shall we wait? Petition was filed from the Philippines. Okay, so I'm not assuming. I am 99.9% positive. Well, I would probably 100% positive that your son, yes, he's unmarried, but he's over 21. So he would be in, let's see, F1 category, unmarried sons and daughters of US citizens, first priority category, but this is over 21. It doesn't say it here. For whatever reason, they definitely need to update it because it creates some confusion for some people. So yes, this would be the F1, and let's take a look at the Philippines, and we're gonna take a look at the priority date, August 2010. Let's take a look. F1. Wow, April 2015. Yeah, this is 5 years longer than. Let me ask you a follow-up question. This is taking way too long, and this should not be taking this long. Yolanda, let me ask you a follow-up question. If you can submit another comment in a separate comment, don't respond to your own comment, to my comment within your comment, because for whoever's watching, I don't get notifications for the response within the comment for whatever reason. I don't know why. But if you can, please let me know in the separate comment, were there any unforeseen delays within the processing of the case? Like, for example, I'll give you an example. Let's say, your case is approved by USCIS and then it is transferred to the NVC. You're working with NVC, you're submitting all the documents, you submitted your affidavit of support. NVC took whatever, usually they take about like between 3 and 6 months to review all your documents, and then they came back and said, no, it's not enough. Not enough income shown on the affidavit of support. You need to find a joint sponsor. So you took some time to find a joint sponsor and then add them, and then the NVC is reviewing it again. Were there anything along these lines in your case? And the reason why I'm asking is because it's really, really taking it. I mean, it's been already 13 years. Yes, you were, from Philippines, and Philippines do have a separate chargeability area. It's a separate chargeability area. So the cases over there take a little bit longer to process. But again, if you compare for the F1 category, you're looking at just 1 year difference, or 2 years difference, 1 to 2 years difference between Philippines chargeability category and all chargeability, so the rest of the world. The only other thing that I'm thinking possible, but you said he's unmarried, I am thinking maybe somebody messed up in USCIS or NVC, and instead of putting him in F1 category, they put him in F3 category, which is married sons and daughters of US citizens. And F3 category, if you look at that, Philippines from November, it's really long, from November 2003, and then all chargeability is November. No, I don't know, there isn't really anything for Philippines, any category that kind of works for your case. So I would ask you definitely, if you can follow up with a comment, I would really appreciate it. Just providing a little bit more information. Were there any hiccups in the case processing? Were there any unnecessary, not unnecessary, but unforeseen delays in the processing within USCIS and within the NVC? Also, if you don't want to provide a separate comment or anything like this, I would highly encourage you to submit a public inquiry form first with the NVC and follow up and say, hey, this has been ridiculously long. You guys go and take a look at the visa bulletin that you provide and tell me why my case is now 5 years past the normal, whenever the immigrant visas are becoming available for this particular category. And then once they respond to that inquiry, depending on their response, if it's something boilerplate, if it's something vague, then I would recommend taking further action, reaching out to elected officials, submitting the complaints, working with family immigration attorney, finding a family immigration attorney, and working with them to see what's going on, because this is way out of anything normal. So I really hope that the situation is resolved for you. All right, let's move on to the next comment from Jay Hayes. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing the name. I have a good friend in Brussels and I want to get him here quick. Can you please give me some advice? I run a business and a disabled vet. Jay, thank you for your service. So whenever it comes to the best thing that I would recommend in your situation, especially if you want this done as quickly, as easily as possible, plus considering that the person is from Brussels, the person that you're inviting from, I would say the best thing that works in this situation would be a regular invitation and a regular B1, B2 visa. Non-immigrant visa, it's a non-immigrant visitor's visa. B1 is for business, B2 is for pleasure, but usually when the visitor's visa is issued, it's usually put B1/B2. So you can come here and you can do non-immigrant stuff, obviously not work, but for the idea to do business or just for pleasure like tourism. That would be the easiest thing to do. The reason for that is because to make that happen, all you really need to do is just make a invitation letter. It's very simple. You're providing your name, you're providing your friend's name, whoever you're inviting. You're addressing it to the U.S. Embassy where your friend is going to go for an interview for a non-immigrant visa, and you're saying the reason why you're inviting the friend. And it can be as simple as, hey, my name is this and this, I'm inviting this and this and this, his date of birth, his whatever, identifying information, right? So that they can't confuse him with anybody else. And then you say the reason why you're inviting and for how long you're inviting that person, where they're going to stay, very, very basic stuff. I'm inviting my friend, John Doe from Brussels, to come visit me in the United States of America for 2 weeks. I haven't seen my friend in a very long time, something along those lines, right? The explanation, the reason for the invite. You can just send that invitation, just that letter with your signature. Physical letter always helps. You can definitely do it electronically, but physical would be much more legit, all right, for the consul, obviously, to review. I would also recommend getting that letter notarized here and then mailing it. And then once your friend receives that physical letter of invitation from you, they can just go to, I'm assuming in Brussels, they probably have their own U.S. Embassy in Brussels. Just go to the website of U.S. Embassy in Brussels, schedule the non-immigrant visa interview. I think it's like $150, $160. You go, you pay, they ask you a few questions. You'll have to show that letter of invitation. That's it. And basically they're trying to establish that he does not have any immigration intentions. They just want to come here to visit. All right. That would be the fastest way to do it, because if you are, if we're talking about starting an immigration case and, like in my previous answers, you see we have to deal with this right here, visa bulletin, and that is not a very nice thing to deal with because every month it just keeps disappointing a lot of people. So the fastest way is just a regular invitation for a non-immigrant visa. All right, let's move on to the next question from Pape Mbisan Diouf. Definitely mispronounced that name. I'm very sorry. Hello, I applied for my wife category F2A. Her priority date is April 9, 2021 and was current. Is it always current? Okay, Pape, unfortunately, it's not always current, as we just found out in April 2023 visa bulletin. If you take a look at the graph A, documentarily qualified dates, F2A is now not showing current compared to previous. I'm gonna type in March 2023, and that's like, by the way, if you quickly need to find any kind of visa bulletin from any year, just type in the month, the year, and then change the year here and it will come up. So we have March 2023, and as you can see, this is completely incorrect information because it's still showing current, but going back to April 2023, it is now updated, and about 3 years of delay, 3 years of backlog on the F2A category, which is very sad. And this is the backlog that was caused artificially by all the closures during the pandemic. So now about 3 years of backlog, right? About 3 years, and you are in 2021. So I would say about 1 more year for you to wait for the immigrant visa to become available for your beneficiary, for your wife, and the interview is scheduled. I know that's not very good news, but again, at least we see the movement. At least we are not in the dark. At least we can look at this and understand that approximately what's happening. Again, unless you're within the system, you're not gonna 100% know what's going on, but at least we can make decent judgment. Not like before, up until April 2023, a lot of people were looking at this showing current and they were thinking, well, I've been waiting for 2 years now, no interview, nothing. Why am I waiting 2 years? And it's showing current. Well, now we know why. So still a little bit better not to be in the dark. All right, let's move on to the next question from Saeed Hassan. What about F4 category? F4 category is the forced priority category for siblings of US citizens. And unfortunately, that's the category that takes the longest. If we look at the priority dates for all chargeability areas, it's December 2007 as of April 2023, which means there is 16 years. 16 years of backlog. 16 years. A US citizen, naturalized, most likely naturalized US citizen. Why? Because, well, I mean, if you have a sibling somewhere who is not a US national, most likely you yourself are naturalized, all right? You yourself is an immigrant, are an immigrant. I am an immigrant, so my English is not the best. Sorry about that. But being a naturalized citizen, it means you went through all the interviews, through all the, courts and background checks and medical examinations and paid the fees, filled out all the applications, petitions. And now you're petitioning for your brother, sister, and 16 years. That's for all chargeability. If you're from Mexico, it's not 16 years, it is 22 years. Can you imagine? 22 years. You did everything legally, and now you're again doing legally, petitioning for your brother or sister from Mexico. Legally. They will have to go through all the interviews. They will have to pay the fees. They will have to do the medical examination and come here already legally as a legal permanent resident in 22 years. Yeah, this is crazy. But this is one of the reasons why I started this channel, is because I want to bring the awareness, not just help people. If my answers help you, I'm really grateful for that. It's really good. But I also want to bring the awareness to people who do not know about these crazy wait times. Just unreal wait times. Okay, let's move on to the next question from Ralph ML Gaming. I don't have a US passport. Can I just use my certificate instead as proof of citizenship? Yes, Ralph. Oh, not Ralph. Sorry, Raf. Very sorry, Raf. So, yes, absolutely, you can definitely provide your naturalization certificate as a proof of citizenship. In fact, that was kind of news to me as well. Whenever I was, getting naturalized, going through all of that process, I realized that passport in United States is not as like a necessary document as in a lot of other countries. Passport here in US you only need for international travel. If you don't travel internationally, you really don't even need to have a passport. Everywhere they ask for birth certificate to prove the citizenship or naturalization certificate. That's it. So yes, Raf, you are definitely good. Let me put this before I forget, because I will forget. And we're gonna move on to the next question from Christian Casas again. Hi, thank you for your videos and useful information. You're very welcome, Christian. Thank you for watching. Thank you for asking questions. Do you think that the rest of the fiscal year table A will move forward for family? Okay, so I have already answered that, so I'm gonna put that here as well, just so that you don't miss that your question has been addressed. And we're gonna move on to, looks like there is from Parveen Singh, very sorry Parveen, priority date 22nd November 2011, F3 category, India. How much time taken to be current? Okay, so let's take a look. Let's take a look at the visa bulletin. F3 category is, we got the married sons and daughters of US citizens. So we got F3 category and we have priority date in 2011. So F3, and we're gonna go to India here because India has their own separate chargeability area. And we got November 2009, and you set your priority date in 2011, so just 2 years over what is currently being processed. So very, very rough estimate. 2 more years, about 2 more years, Parveen, of 2 more years of patience for you. Getting there. It's very rough estimate, keep that in mind. The reason why I always say it's very rough estimate, because a lot of you know, who's familiar with Visa Bulletin, it has not been moving. So every day, every month you log into a new Visa Bulletin, you see exactly the same dates. So you would think that, okay, instead of November, next month it should be already December. But that's not the case. It's still November. Why? Well, because we just found out, literally with April 2023 Visa Bulletin, that Department of State have not been updating for like 3 years. This F2A, well, not 3 years, but a year and a half. The reason why there's the 3-year backlog is because the failure to update for a year and a half, and then the failure to issue immigrant visas for about a year. I don't know, however long they've been closed, their closures for the whole pandemic, caused the delays, of course. So that's why it's very, very rough estimate. But as of right now, and again, hopefully within the next 2-3 months, we will have some updated information from the Visa Bulletin. We will see. But as of right now, 2 more years. All right, so I think I'm gonna stop video at this because it's already over 30 minutes. I'll address the rest of the questions that I have in the next Visa Bulletin. Visa Bulletin is on my mind. In the next volume. Volume 51 already. I want to thank you all for your questions. If you have any additional questions, do not hesitate to ask them in the comments. Just make sure to submit a separate comment and I will be happy to address them. Don't feel bad, you asking too much questions. Not at all, because without your questions, these videos would not be possible. So I always appreciate your questions. Thank you very much for watching. Appreciate your time. God bless, and I will see you in the next video.